What's up, world? You are in tune to Marvelous Talk TV with your usual suspects, myself, Big G. What's poppin', man? How you doing?
Man, I'm just sitting here chilling, man. I took a little power nap before I jumped on the air, man, because I was so hyped off of what I saw with She-Hulk and Andor. So I'm ready to get to the conversation, man.
Man, and we got the newbie, Elijah. What's poppin', man? How you doing?
I'm doing perfectly well, man. Just ready to talk more about what I just watched today for She-Hulk, man. It's insane.
It's different. It's on some other stuff, man. But definitely, man, before we get into this, we want to say shouts out to our partner Max. He is not in, but he will be back soon. We're gonna definitely get into that, but we're gonna get into some other stuff first. Here we go. What did we just see? We'll start it out with definitely the finale of She-Hulk, man. Um, so She-Hulk started as it ended. Jennifer Walters had lost her cool as She-Hulk, beat down a screen. I don't understand why they put her in jail for that, but we'll get to that here soon. So she was in jail, the same cell that they put Emil in, Pulaski in, and definitely she was in there. And her lawyers, she got a meeting with her lawyers. Her lawyer had just specifically told her, "Hey, look, we can get you out of that. We get you a plea deal. You just got to put an inhibitor on, where she couldn't turn into She-Hulk anymore." So of course, she lost her job because the job was predicated on her being She-Hulk. Definitely lost the job, and then she had to move out of her house. And at this point, she was just looking for a little justice, man. She had to move back in with her parents. Her mother was sure to tell her that, hey, your room is still open, but I use it for my workout facility. So, definitely I'll be in there to work out. And, her mom's still thinking about her being She-Hulk because she's saying, hey, can you move a bookshelf? I think I want to have this window open. It's crazy at this point. So she's still calling Bruce, definitely trying to get in contact with her cousin Bruce, which we know is the Incredible Hulk. And she said, well, the only other person that would understand what's going on in my life is Emil Polanski. So she goes back to the compound that he had established for himself. We'll just call it a compound. We won't call him David Koresh, but he does have a compound.
They drinking Kool-Aid over there, man. They drinking Kool-Aid. They drinking straight Kool-Aid over there, man.
Yeah.
Or in their case, the dragon blood or whatever.
Yeah. So
yeah.
She gets there. And she's waiting to speak to him. She's definitely waiting to speak to him. And while she's waiting to speak to Emil, she just waiting around. Can't read his book. Threw his book down. All of the haikus and everything. She's like, yeah, I can't do this. So she asked, another one of the members of the cult there, hey, where is Emil? And she was like, yeah, well, he's down having a private rally. Meanwhile, what she didn't know, unbeknownst to her, her friends were researching the intelligentsia. And upon their research of the intelligentsia, they found out that one of the guys who wanted to date her, who acted like he was just so uninterested, was the actual leader of the whole thing. And in walks the Abomination because he's doing public speaking. So it turns out when the inhibitor went off, he was definitely transforming, and he was transforming just so he can make a little coin and do some public speaking appearances, right? And so definitely Jennifer shows up during that time, And when she shows up, then everything goes haywire.
It's
Um,
nutso. Straight
yeah,
nutso.
yeah, everything goes haywire. We had her main op from this series, who she kept getting into it with, showed up. Then after that, her cousin Bruce showed up, and then they used the blood payoff. He put the blood inside of him, and he turns into a Hulk. At this point, she breaks the fourth wall. She's like, "Wait a minute, this is not right. I don't like this. I don't like this. Is some bad writing. We got to do something with it, right?" So at this point, she addresses the bad writing and everything, and she's like, hey, all right, so how do I change this? So she turns into She-Hulk. Then the Marvel title comes up, which I think was excellent, and it was awesome. The Marvel title comes up. She goes in. Sean, which title does she pick?
Um, I don't know. It was one of those one-off shows that had a glitch in it. It was one of them shorts. It wasn't on the main frame area with Marvel. It was on the second line, which is the actual Marvel page, like not with Shang-Chi and them, but right below. It was one of them one-offs. Elijah,
Elijah?
you know that?
It was it's the assembled
Marvel Assemble.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
All
thing.
right, so she
Basically the behind the scenes kind of stuff. So when she went in there, I was like, oh, it makes sense why she went in there, because she could interact with the directors and everything like that.
and the
So
writers.
Yeah.
So she kicks open that door, walks on the Marvel lot. When she walks on the Marvel lot, at this, definitely she's like kicks in the door on the writers and's like, hey, this some lazy writing y'all doing. Can we do something different? And he's like,
She
no, Kevin.
she basically called them trash. That's
Yeah,
what she
called him
called.
trash.
Yeah.
And they told her Kevin likes this. Kevin approved it. You got to talk to Kevin. And we all know that Kevin Feige is, the brains over Marvel. But so that she was like, well, I need to talk to Kevin. And they were like, nobody talks to Kevin. So she's like, well, I'm going to talk to Kevin. And so she goes and beats up a couple of people, breaks down the door, uses his head to open up the private door, and ends up getting down into this place where Kevin is. Kevin happens to be a robot, but he has the Kevin Feige hat on, which I thought was a nice touch. Um, Kevin happens to be a robot, and she's talking to Kevin about, hey, these things should have changed. I don't like the way that these were. This whole thing should have changed. And he was like not open to it, but she pitched some ideas, and he changed some things, right? But he also gave away some clues. He was like, we were gonna find out where Hulk has been this whole time. And she was like, I don't need to know all that, but I do want Daredevil back, because hey, she's hot. She's hot in the britches. She likes Daredevil. That is what it is.
Hey, did you see the part where she tried to jump in and say, and yeah, what's up with the X-Men? And then Kevin was like, no, not yet. She was like, well, I tried. She looked at the audience. She was like, well, I tried.
Yeah,
That was funny too, man.
definitely.
Yeah.
So at this point, you guys, everything that she asked for got corrected. The blood thing was gone. Now that the blood thing is gone, they're able to kind of use something different, right? And after they take away the blood, then they take away the Hulk, then they take away Emil, because Emil has to take uh, responsibility for transforming because she put her name on the line, right? And so all of that happens. Daredevil shows up at the end, and he's like pleasant and happy to be there, and she's happy for him to be there as well. Remember, around when the cops is there, so writing him in this script was kind of, I won't say it was cheesy, but I think she did it out of necessity. And then we got a Fast and Furious barbecue that everybody was at, and the family was there. And in the barbecue, one of the aunts was trying to holler at Matt Murdock.
She was loving on Matt Murdock, man. She was
for
loving on
sure,
Matt Murdock.
it was disturbing a little bit, to be quite
Not
honest with
knowing
you.
he
I
was
was
dead.
like,
The devil, you got me, I'm back.
Yep.
Okay. The dad was trying to tell him, "Hey, look, you're part of the family. We want you to have some babies with my daughter, and that is what it is." So after we got that, in comes the final domino piece, which I'm still not sure that I like. The Incredible Hulk shows up, and we have Scar, right? He introduces his son. Now we did have um, a end credit scene, and that is Emil going to Cosmatar. But I'm gonna let Sean Big G get at this because I know he's chomping at the bit to talk about what we just saw.
Well, I mean, first of all, as far as an episode is concerned, this was, in my opinion, the best episode of all the She-Hulks. Whether you guys realize it, understand it, or know it, She-Hulk was the first character in the Marvel comics before Deadpool to break the fourth wall. She always did it. She broke the fourth wall all the way back in Savage She-Hulk #3, #4. So we're talking about a '70s comic. That's the whole reason why at the beginning of the show they said they did homage to the old Bruce Banner show that was in the '70s. And then she talked about you wouldn't like me, I was angry. And she looked at the camera and she transformed. They had a bodybuilder playing She-Hulk, and she transformed just like the old. It wasn't called Bruce Banner, but David Banner for the Incredible Hulk series. So that was giving homage to that because that's where they came up with the whole idea for She-Hulk. So her breaking the fourth wall throughout the episode was just to me like outstanding, straight up comic bookish, all the way back to the original homage for She-Hulk. But the parts that played the most was when she was going in there basically saying that she could interact with Kevin, and Kevin was an artificial intelligence that controlled what was going on with Marvel. That was outstanding too, because once again, for those that don't read comics, that was homage back to the original She-Hulk series. I think it was comic number 41 or number 42, where she broke the fourth wall and interacted with the writers of She-Hulk about the show, about her comic run. So that's where she changed from more or less the savage She-Hulk to the sensational She-Hulk. So homage to that. And then the last part was the whole thing about Scar, which I know without a shadow of a doubt is setting up the whole World War Hulk storyline. No different origin for Scar, than the comic books. But man, Scar is here to stay. So like I said, man, to me, all the plot points that they played, they even played the Wakanda Forever music when she's in the part where they said was the writers and the digital effects people have been moved on from you because they're working on a bigger project, and they played the Black Panther music in it. So I was like, man, this is boss. This is boss. But get used to it for those that are waiting for Deadpool and like this and that. That's how Deadpool's going to look in the MCU. Fourth wall breaking, interacting with the audience. So this is setting it up. That's just my little small spins on the show, man.
Elijah, what were the things that you saw like that stuck out to you?
All right, let me take you through my experience just going through this episode, right? All right.
Yeah, just give me the things that stuck out to you. Just brief.
All right. Obviously it was very close of not being a good episode for me in the first half. To be quite honest with you, the plot points were confusing in the first half, which was intentional.
Yeah.
As she brought up, it's like, wait, none of these storylines make any sense. It's like when she got captured, I didn't think that she was supposed to be captured.
Right.
Uh, the lawyer that was supposed to represent her was focusing on the wrong stuff. Uh, it was Bruce showing up out of nowhere from
Yeah.
being absent the entire time. And also the main antagonist gets to be a bad version of Hulk. It's like, and she called out on every single plot point that when she went into the assembled part of the show. So throughout that, it
But,
was
but
overall.
what was it that actually stuck out to you? Tell me that. That's what we want to know. What was it that stuck out to you?
I would probably just say the entire interaction of how Kevin was completely aware of how the internet is very how the internet reacts to Marvel content,
Love it. Yeah.
because every single time that he puts out something, he's like, "Oh, I'll just let the internet talk about whatever whatever they want to talk
Right.
about."
Yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna ask you, Elijah. I'm gonna start with you. What
Yeah.
would you give? What are you rating this episode? What are you
Ooh,
rating it?
this episode is a 10.
My
This
man.
episode is most definitely a 10.
Yeah.
Uh, from the self awareness, from what the audience is in the current climate, especially the intelligentsia scenes where it was basically Twitter talking about She-Hulk. It was literally every single person is a representation of like people on Twitter just talking about She-Hulk. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
she doesn't deserve this power. It's like, oh, she got it from Bruce, and it's like there's no he Hulk. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely a
Yeah.
10 for
So
sure.
you rated it a 10. All right. And G, what did you rate this episode?
Man, I give it a 10 too, because and the reason why is this is because, see, people are going to look back at the She-Hulk show in about 2 years, 2024, 2025. You got to remember when other shows came out and spun off, right? And you got other episodes of other shows. The original show didn't have its really flavor, i.e., like Iron Man. When Iron Man first hit, people liked it because it was Marvel. But then once you got other content, folks was like, that Iron Man was sort of bad and all whatever else. But then you go back and look at how the content played such a big part in the story plot and stuff moving forward. It was huge. So She-Hulk is doing the same thing, right? Out of She-Hulk, you're going to get World War Hulk. I totally believe that intelligentsia is coming back, and they just use the name because really the real intelligentsia is going to show themselves in in Captain America 4, right? When you get the
Mm.
leader, they're going to show themselves. It's a front company, just like how the Ten Rings was a front thing in the Iron Man, and then we actually found out what the Ten Rings was in Shang-Chi. So you'll get that. You'll get World War Hulk. You'll get eventually going to get the Red Hulk. You're eventually going to get a storyline that's going to lead to possibly the Illuminati coming back into the MCU. So there was a lot of little nuances that, like I said, in a year or two, we're going to appreciate so much how much She-Hulk actually did because it was non-traditional. And I think that's what Kevin Feige was trying to do. He's setting you up for stuff you've never seen before. So when you go back in 2 years, oh, this was the normal. This is what was coming anyway. So I totally love the fact that they did the show like that, and they broke barriers. A show driven about female and disparities with females in the world. Total driven the show, and they threw all the classic comic book stuff in it, all the way to the end with even her walking up the steps in a purple suit, which is the last episode, a last comic book that she ever starred in. She was walking up as far as her own series was concerned, she was walking up the steps in a purple suit. So a lot of good things going on with
Well,
She-Hulk.
I mean, I think I was really I was like Elijah at this point. I was trending on not really liking this episode. Like bad. It was like, this is really getting bad. I don't like the fact that, it's not making any sense. Definitely it was frustrating to watch. I think the end kind of pulled it all together. Um, when the end pulled it all together, I think we all can agree that it became a really better episode, and I could give it an 8.5. I can't give it a 10. That's going too high. You know,
Mm.
I don't hand my tens out. You know, I give it an 8.5. You know, there's only one 10 I think I've ever. Well, no, I've given three tens out. I've given three tens out. Black Panther, um, definitely in game was a 10. Um, Infinity War was a 10. You
Mm.
know, those were my tens. I ain't give out anything else. I'm like, well, no, Falcon and Winter Soldier, I gave it 9.5. But
Okay.
everything else was, you know, I don't give tens out easy. But like I said, 8.5, I'll give it to it. It introduced it a lot. It was a bridge. I'm happy, you know, that we went down this road with She-Hulk. Um, Final thoughts on She-Hulk before we switch gears.
It ended up phase four. I mean, really, to be honest, Wakanda Forever, they saying is the end of phase four, but they ain't telling the truth. This was the end of phase four. Phase four was weird. It was non-traditional. It was different, and it was setting stuff up. Like I said, that in 2024 and 2025 we'll appreciate even more. So
Yeah,
I liked it. It was the wackiness of phase four in the MCU.
love it, love it. Elijah, final thoughts on She-Hulk?
Final thoughts on She-Hulk. It was a wonderful ride. Throughout these past what 6 7 weeks. Um, just to see all the internet discourse and all the talking points, and just overall, just trying to figure out where the story was going was a very interesting thing to be a part of. So yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm my final thoughts on She-Hulk is I'm glad we got it. I'm glad we got it. I'm glad we got it.
Yeah.
It was a necessary piece of the pie for me. So switching gears, man. We're gonna let G, because G is, you know, he's super excited to talk about this one. So we're gonna grab it. And we're not gonna spend much time on it, but we're gonna tell you what it meant. We got Werewolf by Night,
Woo.
and definitely it was a quickie. You know, one of those things. It was super quick. It went by super quick. I see that we got a G and Elijah are gonna be our 10 givers out. They're gonna just give out tens everywhere it happens. I can't see how you listen. But G, let's get the people. Let's fill them in real briefly on Werewolf by Night, man.
Uh, Werewolf by Night.
Just tell them, what it meant and what happened in it. You don't have to go
Yeah.
through the whole episode.
Werewolf by Night meant the total change in the introduction of the Midnight Suns in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You got Man Thing, you got Jack Russell Werewolf by Night, and you got Elsa Bloodstone, right? That's what happened. And so you guys can understand the whole reason why they went from black and white to color at the end was to show that there's a change in how the Bloodstone has been given to people. And there's a change now. Elsa now is fighting with the monsters than fighting against them and destroying them. So she's gonna form her own squad. The Midnight Suns is coming. So now you got Man Thing, which so I gotta just stop one little quick second and talk about Man Thing. Okay. Man Thing is the protector of the nexus of all realities. That's what he does in the comic book. He's the guy that watches all the different realities. So some folks are confused because they're like, Man Thing was on Sakaar. You saw him on the statue in Thor Ragnarok, and he was a fighter. Well, if you guys got to remember, the anus, what they call the anus, the big portal hole, there was all kind of different portal holes that led to Sakaar. Guess where Sakaar sits in the nexus of all realities? That's why he was there, and he was a champion, because the Man Thing used to protect the nexus of all realities. Now he's not there, and he's in our reality. So which that's because he got whooped by the Hulk. The Hulk's the champion there, right? So that's why like it's huge talking about Man Thing and about what he is, because he's the protector of the nexus of all realities. especially like I said, also with Jack Russell. Jack Russell, Werewolf by Night, is huge. You're going to get every character for the Midnight Suns, Moon Knight, Doctor Strange, Doctor Voodoo, Elsa Bloodstone. All of these people are all going to be in one team, and it's coming. So I was blown away, and also just how different this was than any other thing that was out there in Phase 4. And I think, to me, outside of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it might have been my most favorite thing that they put out in Phase 4 because it was so different. And it really told the true story about how folks get to that bloodstone and what the bloodstone actually is. So I loved Werewolf by Night, man. Loved it.
So Werewolf by Night,
Elijah, it was boss, wasn't it, bro?
Wow. When I tell you that Werewolf by Night was such a game pusher throughout this entire ordeal, it simply was.
Yeah.
How it was a homage to the early 1920s Universal horror films.
Yep.
How, going back to your point, the transition from black and white to color, and how they used Over the Rainbow,
Yeah.
which was really good. It's like, oh yeah, I remember how that signified in Wizard of Oz, when
Correct.
it was one of the first films to go from black and white to color.
Correct.
And that was one of the big signifiers that popped up in my head when that came up. But your point was also very, very good for sure.
and I think it's here. I'm glad that, again, that's one thing that I'm glad it's here, and it introduced the Midnight Suns, so it opened the door for the Midnight Suns. I don't know if we're gonna get Dr. Voodoo, but definitely opened the door to the Midnight Suns. So before we actually switch gears from Marvel, we had a big announcement. Big announcement. Something we here at the program have known for a long time. I'll say a couple weeks, right, G? It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, about a month or so. I've known it for sure. At least I heard it on back channel. So I was buying it when I heard it on back channel.
It's been a couple weeks that we were like, yeah, this is definitely going down.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford is taking over and is going to be the Red Hulk. He is definitely going to take over and be Thunderbolt Ross. And so we're not going to miss him. We're not going to miss the Red Hulk throughout this time. I think Harrison Ford is a good pickup for this. What do you guys think, real quick? What do you guys think about the casting of Harrison Ford?
They had to do it, man. They not necessarily Harrison Ford, but they had to recast it because of what he means moving forward. You got a show called The Thunderbolts. Come on, bro. You can't have the Thunderbolts without Thunderbolt Ross and the Red Hulk. You can't have it. So they had to figure out something versus like how they're doing with Chadwick Boseman and giving him homage. You know, paying homage to him and then moving forward with maybe getting another Black Panther. So I like the cast. God knows I love Harrison Ford and Star Wars. So I think he's going to play an excellent Thunderbolt Ross in the MCU.
Love it, man. What do you think, Elijah? How do you're a little younger, so you're not as familiar with Harrison Ford, his work. I don't know if you've ever seen, the original Indiana Jones movies, and I know you've seen Star Wars, but
yes,
Indiana Jones, which is another one of the things where he showed his chops. So what do you think about him as an actor?
I think that at this point of his career, this is a great role for him because obviously he's a very well-known figure, and as General Ross, he can be that commanding presence in the room that, not only as an actor, but as the character, he demands respect. And you can definitely see that on screen with most of his performances. I know his performances mainly out of Star Wars, as you pointed earlier, and Blade Runner.
Yeah, The Fugitive. Fugitive is another strong movie for Harrison Ford. Really strong. So switching gears, Andor. We finally got to the robbery, man. We finally got to the robbery.
Give me the
It took
loot.
it
Give
took
me the
some
loot.
time.
Yeah.
It definitely took some time for them to get to the robbery. But God dog it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We got it.
Yeah.
We got it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so rather than go through the synopsis of this whole thing, the feel of this, first and foremost, I have to say, I love the episode. I'll give it a solid 8 right up
Yeah.
front.
Yeah.
My problems, who were these guys in the TIE fighters? Where were they coming from? You know, it seemed like all of the guards were accounted for, but all of a sudden we got these guys. Just all of a sudden we see them jumping in a TIE fighter.
Yeah.
Where'd you come from? How did you even know something was going down? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I think my other problem with this is that the betrayal in the end. It seemed like everybody was betraying everybody, but did they really? You know what I'm saying? So I don't I don't know. I don't know. That's my problems with the episode. G, talk to me, man. How did you feel about this episode?
I give it about an 8.7, an 8.8, because the visual effects were outstanding. You know, that whole over the top with all them crystals just flying and eventually becomes part
That
of the
was awesome.
sky. And then it looks like it's like the eye of like a god looking and watching the people. Man, I was just like, man, this is so boss, man. You know, so that and the whole scene where they robbed everything and then how they was able to get away with the robbery, man. I was digging it, man. I was digging it. So I like the visual effects. I like the plot line and the storyline. I was a little bit confused about because it was really like the first time that we saw the TIE fighters that they're not TIE fighters. They're TIE fighters, like how they were tied to uh, uh, um, Darth Vader. You know, because these guys they're literally the same ships that was in Star Wars. They turned on the same, the sound effects was the same, the board on the screen was the same. They couldn't lock in on targets, all that stuff sounded the same. So I was like, dude, are these guys that was tied to Vader? Is this a special crew? And their job was inside the Empire and they worked for Vader versus they're working for the Empire, and their job was supposed to watch the loot. You know, I'm not sure, but you know, of course, they all got killed anyway. But that whole scene where they finally just robbed everything was boss. But there was another scene, that, and like Mod said, the betrayal at the end. But there was another scene that was just off the hook to me too. When they was in the cave and they was trying to fall asleep in the cave, right? And how they basically couldn't fall asleep because none of them had the ability to rest. They all knew they were called to something bigger or greater, but they just couldn't rest, right? And so they was trying to give each other secrets or tips how to fall asleep. And I'm like, man, these dudes don't trust nada. So because they don't trust nada, they ain't going to sleep because it's like the first guy that's going to sleep is gonna die. You know, so the betrayal and the setup was there all along. And that's the birth of the rebellion. You know, the birth of rebellion is that don't nobody trust anybody, but everybody's got their whole idea of how we can take down the empire. It's just that they haven't come under one umbrella to get one storyline or one plot line. And that's the formation of it, because in order to get that, you got to kill off all these little subplots, you know, and make them relevant. So definitely 8.7. The visual effects, like I said, I was loving it. And you know, I mean, I could go in detail about Andor because it's different, but I really like the show. Really, really, really like the show.
Elijah?
For the most part, it was a very solid episode. We finally got to the robbery for sure. It kind of reminded me of those, the heist sections in Ant-Man.
Yeah,
It was just high action fun. Very very entertaining for the most part. I would give it like a 7.5, 7.8.
hmm.
The high points were high, but for the most part, the overall intensity of that episode was kind of mid, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the robbery in itself meant more to my guy. I forget his name. Man, I wish Max was here. The collector who's playing, who actually went and got Andor. The robbery itself meant something, and I think that what the robbery meant was what G said. This is it. This is the
Yeah.
birth of the rebellion. Y'all see
Yeah.
us now. Y'all
Yeah.
know we here. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Oh,
We're
he went
not gonna.
crazy. He went
Yeah.
nuts when he was in it. He was like, "Woo, yeah, we got it." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah." I didn't mean to cut you off, Mom, but yeah, you're right.
No,
For
no, no,
sure, for
no.
sure.
You're right. You're
Yeah,
right. I
yeah,
think that's how he felt. He was like, "Yo, it's starting. We done put heads to bed. Now we can really start to gain traction, right?"
yep,
I don't think he foresaw what was happening, or maybe he did. Maybe she knew he was gonna take the money and run.
yeah,
Maybe he knew he was gonna take the money and run. But I'm gonna tell you one thing: he only took his part, which
yep,
showed him something else about him. The other dude was trying to take everybody's part. You know what
yep,
I'm saying? He was
yep.
trying to take everybody's part. So therefore, like I said, I liked it. It was an 8. It was a solid 8. Definitely, I am excited, and really, you guys, I'm excited about the overall general direction that we're moving in Marvel right now, and in believe it or not, and in Star Wars. You know, definitely in Star Wars. So you guys, give me parting shots, man. G, I'll start with you. Give me your parting shot, and then Elijah, you go next.
Party shot. Little secret tidbit information that I've discovered like through the rabbit hole. Right. I have been told that the reshoots of Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, has stretched the movie out to total runtime of 2 hours and 52 minutes. And I also can confirm for sure that there are 3 post-credit scenes, or mid-credit, if you want to call them post-credit, mid-credit. There is 3 for sure. I've also been told, and I can confirm, I can't tell you what I know because I know exactly what happens in all 3 of them. But I can say this for all the people that watch us on Marvelous, listen to this. These 3 post-credit and mid-credit scenes will change the MCU forever. They are almost movies by themselves, right? The post-credit and mid-credit scenes for Black Panther 2 are almost movies by themselves. They are going to want you they when you see these 3, you are going to want to get right back in the theaters and be like, man, what is next? Why are you playing with my emotions? Why are you not giving me this? Because they're going to change the game forever. There are some huge announcements in those post-credit scenes. There's going to be some on-air stuff and one of them, matter of fact, 2 of them particularly. When you see who's in the middle of them, you're not going to believe it. There's going to be folks that's going to throw popcorn at the screen, that's going to scream in the middle of the theater, that's going to jump up and shake and cheer louder than any other part of the Wakanda Forever movie. And the Wakanda Forever movie, from the early reviews that I've heard about it, it is on par with Endgame, Infinity War, and the first Black Panther. It's up there. So fasten your seatbelts, buckle up, and get ready because this 2 hour 52 minute long sensation that you're going to see in November is just going to shake it up forever. The end
Well,
credit scenes, I'm telling you, are off the chain.
well, I've already said that this is going to be the best Marvel movie ever. I mean, I've already said it. I've coined it. It is what it is. Um, I know I'm definitely already signed up to see it 3, 4 times. It just is what it is. Elijah, parting shots.
My parting shots. Okay, well, as far as the future of the MCU and the Star Wars universe go, as we all heard of the new Blade reshoots about the pre-production and having all the stuff being pushed back for a few like months or so.
Yeah.
September 6th, it's going to be my birthday for Blade, so that's going to be one thing to look forward to now. So that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But this also takes an effect that they are being very serious about how Blade is being portrayed in the MCU and how vital that story is going to be going forward. And as far as on the Star Wars front, we already know season 3 of Mandalorian is coming out.
That's right.
And that's mostly been the flagship show for Star Wars for the past what 2 years now going on. So we'll see how the adventures of Grogu and Mando are after that. So yeah, everything's looking bright so far. The only thing that needs improvement is DC.
Hey, but Black Adam, so maybe it might be the savior. So maybe.
I can't say anything until I watch the movie. I cannot.
Well, I mean, they've let out a lot of Black Adam. I still think that, and we're going to talk about that, you guys. I mean, definitely we're going to get into that. I still think that The Rock, this was kind of a layup for him. And if he smokes this layup, I mean, it's bad. Like you smoked it like the last layup in the NBA Finals. I mean, it would be bad. It would be a bad smoke. You wouldn't be able to kind of get rid of that. So I don't think he's going to smoke it. But again, I thank you guys for rocking with us, man. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Like us and subscribe. Like on Facebook. Like on YouTube. Subscribe on Twitch. Definitely, we are in every location. We want you to be a part of the Marvelous Talk universe. So when we're here, man, we want you to be here and we want you to listen. If not, catch us on the rewatch, man. And if you did catch us on the rewatch, make sure that you give a comment, like and you comment, and tell us what you think about the Marvelous Talk and our Marvelous Talks that we be having. And also, I think this is something that I need to ask you guys for as well. Not only just comment on the Facebook page, but make sure you comment and you move over to the YouTube page and you comment there. You know, make sure you tap in with us in both places, okay? All right, for myself, for Max, for Big G, and for Elijah, man, we out of here. Peace.